This is Service to Humanity, and you are welcome to another episode of the program, which has been specially put together to update you on the activities of the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. My name is Habiba Zokzok, and it's good to be back with you on the program. The National Homegrown School Feeding Program has been applauded for its impact in public primary schools in the lives of aggregators and local economies. In recent times, however, inflation has taken a toll on the program, and the federal government, in response, has been exploring ways of keeping the program running efficiently. To this end, the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development organized a 2-day National Consultative meeting on public food procurement in the context of Nigeria's National Homegrown School Feeding Program. The issues raised and discussed at this workshop is what our program focuses on. Join me after the break for details of our program.
Our program is key to helping young Nigerians acquire and develop.
The federal government of Nigeria remains committed to including and protecting persons with disabilities to guarantee that no one is left behind.
I see that we are going through challenging times, and I see this woman running all about the country trying to help our people, because this lady is doing a very good job for our country.
Thank you.
Thank you for all what you have been doing for us.
Our program starts with news highlights. In the lineup, the Honorable Minister launches additional financing for multi-sectoral crisis recovery projects, just as federal government increases consumption per child to 100 Naira under the National Homegrown School Feeding Program. Please stay tuned.
The Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Hajiya Sadiya Umar Farouk, on Tuesday, 22nd February 2022, launched the Multi-Sectoral Crisis Recovery Project MCRP, aimed at providing humanitarian services, long-term economic recovery, rehabilitation, and improving critical service delivery infrastructure and livelihood opportunities across the Northeast states. The launch was attended by representatives of the World Bank, European Union, USAID, and Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office (FCDO). The MCRP project under the Northeast Development Commission (NEDC) seeks additional funding for the continued support to Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe states by providing humanitarian and long-term economic recovery. It aims at supporting the federal government of Nigeria and the Northeast states towards rehabilitation and improving critical service delivery infrastructure and livelihood opportunities. While launching the project, the minister said the additional financing of the Multi-Sectoral Crisis Recovery Project presents another opportunity for Nigeria to further solidify the progress that it has made and do more to ensure that citizens in need across the 3 participating states can recover their livelihoods.
The project aims to facilitate improved performance not only by building back better infrastructure, but ensuring that the quality of services provided is raised. With the increase in scope of the additional financing phase, as earlier presented, the emphasis on improving the agricultural value chain plays a very prominent part of the role of the strategy to move the region further along the path of sustainable development.
Earlier in his remark, the Managing Director of the Northeast Development Commission (NEDC), Muhammad Garba Al-Ghali, revealed that the additional focus on the agricultural value chain improvement in the next phase of the project complements plans by the Commission to revitalize agriculture and encourage greater level of mechanization within the sector.
That will result in improved productivity, more opportunity for sustainable livelihood, and addressing the food insecurity in the region. To support the effort in repositioning the Northeast for recovery and sustainable long-term development, the Commission has been working on the Northeast Development and Stabilization Master Plan, This takes into consideration the various projects and plans already ongoing, of which the MCR fee plays a big part.
While interacting with the press, the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Hajiya Sadiya Umar Farouk, sheds more light on the relevance of the multi-sectoral crisis recovery project.
So this project is a project that aligns with the already existing programs of government, and it's a project that's been supported by the World Bank, and it's a project that is also been implemented in the other neighboring countries of Chad, Cameroon, and Niger, and Nigeria joined in 2018. So it's mainly on the recovery of the Northeast, the livelihood support, as well as how to build confidence of our people who have been devastated by this insurgency for the past decade. So it's a complementary effort of the development partners, especially the World Bank, of what the federal government of Nigeria is doing.
The federal government says it has increased its cost for a meal per child under the National Homegrown School Feeding Program from 70 Naira to 100 Naira. Dr. Umar Bindir, the National Coordinator, National Social Investments Program (NSIP), disclosed this at the opening of a two-day National Consultative meeting on public food procurement in the context of Nigeria's National Homegrown School Feeding Program, which held recently in Abuja. According to Bindir, the program, which is under the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, is not just about feeding the children, but engaging women to become entrepreneurs and good food providers.
When we started, that was before COVID-19 in 2016, we have experienced, with difficulty implementing the 70 Naira per child. We have made a presentation. The Honorable Minister passionately made submissions to Mr. President, and Mr. President has graciously approved that we should raise the feeding from 70 Naira to 100 Naira. And the implementation of this program has now commenced. And the Honorable Minister of Finance is giving us very, very full cooperation to ensure that this actually is implemented on time. It is also about enhancing the value, the commercial and entrepreneurial value of our small-scale farmers. So it's a composite program of a good program. So we hope that this presidential gesture will be understood by not just by us, but also by the state, so that we can strengthen this program.
Welcome back from that break. In 2016, the federal government launched the National Homegrown School Feeding Program in public primary schools in Nigeria, with the aim of ensuring every Nigerian child in a public primary school gets one balanced meal a day. The objectives were noble and have justified the initiative since inception. Recently, and as part of improving efficiency, the ministry, in collaboration with an organization known as Resolve to Save Lives, recently organized a two-day consultative meeting on public food procurement. Let's see how it went.
I enjoy the food very well.
National Homegrown School Feeding Program is an initiative of the Buhari administration under the National Social Investment Programs. It is a multi-sectoral program that involves the Ministries of Education, Health, Justice, Agriculture and Budget and National Planning in collaboration with interested states government, school board management committees, community leaders, women groups and parents. The program aims to increase school enrollment rates, improve the nutritional and health status of primary school children, boost the income of farmers, and provide empowerment opportunities for women. Key players in the National Homegrown School Feeding Program are communities, local government authorities, state authorities, the federal government, with extensive participation of the community, that is cooks, manufacturers, retailers, etc. Across the country as the program runs, various challenges confront implementation, making it necessary to constantly seek solutions through dialogue and consultation.
And what are these documents? The first one.
Wednesday 23rd and Thursday 24th of February 2022 in Abuja, a two-day National Consultative meeting on public food procurement in the context of Nigeria's National Homegrown School Feeding Program was organized by the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development in collaboration with Resolve to Save Lives RTSL. Resolve to Save Lives RTSL is an organization that works in two broad areas, namely Prevent Epidemics and Cardiovascular Health Program. Its areas of focus include trans fatty acid elimination (TFA) elimination, front of pack labeling, sodium reformulation, and public food procurement policy. The two-day meeting had in attendance the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development Hajia Sadia Umar Farouk and the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry Bashir Nur Al-Ali, both represented by National Coordinator National Social Investment Programs NSIPS, Engineer Umar Binder. Also in attendance were project managers, focal persons and vendors of various states under the National Homegrown School Feeding Program. Engineer Umar Binder, who also represented the minister, explained that the consultative meeting was aimed at putting together the implementing team of the National Homegrown School Feeding Program in the country to discuss issues that had to do with food and feeding procurement.
This particular consultative meeting on public food procurement and many other issues that you will discuss is just to add value to what you know already. And I hope if we continue at this pace, we will quietly put NSIP as the major legacy of Mr. President. We don't have time, but it can be done.
Dr. Emmanuel Agogo, the country representative, Resolve to Save Lives RTSL, in his opening remarks said, the National Homegrown School Feeding Program is aimed at making sure that all children in Nigeria are able to meet their full growth potential.
What we are here to do is looking at guidelines that have been developed globally. I think that's one of the drivers to globally to improve nutrition, healthy nutrition. One, our focuses are around reducing trans fat, which is a fat that is unhealthy. Our focus is around salt reduction to make sure that the food that people consume have low salt value. Our focus is also ensuring that people who have high blood pressure are well treated. And we know that food is medicine. Is that right? Food is medicine. And so when we begin to look at our children and look at what this program can deliver, it means that every child that is being fed every day is being given not just food, but medicine for them to grow, but also being given the necessary nutrients for their brains to develop, for them to maximize who they are.
The workshop was put in perspective with a presentation by the technical assistant to the minister on the National Homegrown School Feeding Program. It showed the journey so far in the program, indicating amongst other things that the program has a long value chain involving suppliers who are the local farmers, aggregators, vendors who are the cooks, desk officers and others who are involved in the school feeding program in aspects of processing and packaging of food and snacks for the pupils.
Those cooks are mostly women. 99% of our cooks are women from the local communities of those schools. They are women without jobs, some of them without prospects. So the school feeding program gives them an edge and gives them a starting point for financial inclusion. We have, I would say so far, over 100,000 cooks have been empowered. Most of them are now able to operate bank accounts, start up businesses and things like that.
The presentation also revealed that there are over 9.8 million beneficiaries of the National Homegrown School Feeding Program, and a database has been created to identify each beneficiary for the sake of accuracy and accountability. Dr. Mariam Al-Mansour, a public health and nutrition specialist at Resolve to Save Lives, gave an overview and aim of the World Health Organization WHO Action Framework for developing and implementing the public food procurement and service policies for a healthy diet.
The aim of this policy is that it promotes quality standards. For example, the food provider should have little or no trans fats in the food. There should be very little or very low sodium, sugar, or saturated fat, but plenty of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, and clean water. And there are so many settings that public food procurement can take place. It's usually a large-scale procurement. So some of these avenues include hospitals, schools, child care centers, military bases, prisons or correctional centers, as we call them now, feeding programs, senior programs, or homes of the elderly, and retail outlets like restaurants, cafeterias, kiosks, and all that.
As Dr. Mariam went on, she said one of the benefits of public food procurement is that it targets many nutrients and sets standards.
We are interested in seeing that the meals of people provided by the school feeding program, for example, contain the adequate calories, does not contain saturated or trans fatty acids, has very little salt and sugars, and of course, I should have added, has a lot of fruits, vegetables, and adequate water.
Other benefits include public health benefit, cooking of healthier food for a large population, making government an active driver of food market, building awareness and support among decision makers, budget holders and purchasers, facilitating communication and all players in the food chain, economic and cost-saving benefits. Dr. Mariam also clearly indicated that pupils are and should be the beneficiaries. In another presentation, the team leader for the National Homegrown School Feeding Program, Aisha Dugil, explained that the school feeding program runs on 3 procurement models, namely the caterer model, where cooks are responsible for the procurement of all food items as well as preparing and serving the meals; the caterer aggregator model, where cooks are expected to procure certain food items and aggregators are engaged by state governments to mop up protein food items; the cooks model, where the cooks are not expected to procure any food items except their condiments.
All of these models have their strengths, they have their weaknesses. And so we as administrators, as program managers, we are tasked with the job of making sure that the models work for our states and that they are able to reduce any incidents of graft or corrupt practices, and to make sure that our target of ensuring that quality meal is achieved.
Aisha Dugil further explained that the menu design has been assigned to every state. This is to encourage utilization of locally available, affordable and nutritious food produce in the menus. Standards are being rolled out continuously to ensure adherence to set out guidelines and existing laws. Breakout sessions saw attendees split into 3 groups, with each group given a topic to discuss. The topics were public food procurement and service arrangements, regulatory and nutritional environment, National Homegrown School Feeding Program. After holding their discussions, each group made a presentation and answered questions that followed. Additions and corrections were made to all answers presented, and it was agreed that after careful and critical study and deliberations, a final document to guide the public food procurement policy will be created.
Across the 6 geopolitical zones,
They should use this money for what it is meant for, nutriously, to take care of their family.
in 36 states and the FCT. Over 6.4 million of Nigerians poorest of the poor in about 1.3 million households receive conditional cash transfers of 5,000 naira monthly under the Household Upliftment Program of the federal government. Their joy knows no bound.
The government very well because they did well for us.
It helped me to do any other thing, my family.
Reducing absolute poverty, promoting shared prosperity through the Conditional Cash Transfer Initiative. The Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development in service to humanity.
The program is still service to humanity. In the last segment, we took stock of the various presentations and topics that were deliberated upon during the 2-day workshop held to discuss public food procurement in the National Homegrown School Feeding Program. While the workshop held, we caught up with some of the stakeholders to tell us exactly how the school feeding program is running in their states. Let's feel the impact of the National Homegrown School Feeding Program through their testimonies. Keep watching.
With over 9 million enrolled pupils, the National Homegrown School Feeding Program has recorded quite a number of successes. These include increase in school enrollment, improvement in children nutrition and health, increase in local agricultural productions, creation of jobs, and improving family and state economies, all across the states of the Federation. Benefiting pupils and schools commend the program for what it has done for them.
I want to tell them thank you for all what they have been doing for us.
Program managers and other stakeholders under the National Homegrown School Feeding Program who attended the consultative meeting on public food procurement share the testimonies from their state. Olupono Julius is the project manager for Ondo State. He shares the success of the program in his state.
So far, so good. The school feeding program has created job employment. Thereby, you see many people benefiting. For example, the cooks. Cooks that are jobless, they can now go home with something in their pocket. So also the farmers. It is more or less a chain of events from the farmers. The farmers now produce and their products are easily accessed. Or like before, farmers will produce, nobody will buy from them. But with the introduction of the school feeding program since 2016, Ondo State key in 2018, the product from the farmers are consumed immediately.
Dr. Sumaiya Hamza, focal person for Plateau State, has a similar testimony about the NHGSFP in Plateau State.
The school feeding program has been going on, and we are feeding in Plateau State 254,313 pupils in Plateau State are feeding under the National Homegrown School Feeding. And we commenced this activity in 2017, shortly after the flag off of the program.
In Niger State, the story is the same. Niger State has 559,903 pupils enrolled with 5,960 cooks across 2,663 public primary schools out of 3,012. The story is also good.
So far, so good. We've been doing tremendously well. The payment cycle is cooks versus aggregators, and we've been doing tremendously well. The pupils have been feeding regularly based on the available funds in the federal government. Once the cooks are paid, we start feeding the next week so that the pupils will get the required meal.
Gabriel Okulaja, Cross River State Project Manager, also speaks on the NHGSFP in the state.
I want to say it's been an interesting one, in the sense that I've been there from inception. When you're there when something is being created, it gives you some sense of satisfaction where along the line you can now measure and see whether you've made an impact. So for me it's been an interesting one because we can look back to 2016 where we started and measure against today and say, well, we've made some impact.
Martha Yahi is a vendor from Kebbi State. She shares her testimony as a beneficiary of the NHGSFP and as a parent whose children are also beneficiaries.
Honestly, to the glory of God, things are moving smoothly, and we really appreciate the federal government for the support towards our children. And to the glory of God, that motivates parents, a lot of parents, to bring out their children to school to get the education. So we appreciate the federal government for that. We people, we the parents, we really enjoy the program. So our prayer is that may God Almighty continue to see us through and continue to bless our country, Nigeria.
It is on that note we draw the curtains on this episode of Service to Humanity. Remember, the ministry is open to questions, comments, and suggestions through any of our social media platforms, either Facebook or Twitter. You can also send text only to any of the numbers showing on your screen, and we will do our best to direct them to the right authorities for response. Until next week, enjoy the rest of your day.